There you go.
Hi, this is Renee and Kent Miller with the Augmentation of Man, and we are here today to discuss Nibiru.
What we understand about Nibiru.
Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be combining some things that come from both our meditation, your meditation, and channeling of this phenomenon and what's happening.
What science says.
What science says, but also what came out of Zechariah Sitchens' book, which was a translation of the Sumerian clay tablets that were uncovered, I believe it was in the 1930s, that a group of scientists and scholars translated this cuneiform writing into a decipherable translation.
Yeah. So
we're going to kind of connect the dots with all of it.
Well, it was first discovered in, I think, Iraq, the Sumerian tablets, and they were clay tablets, and they talked about the society that wasn't here then, that came long before man, as we know man is now, and how they interacted with this inhabitants on this planet. So the state, according to Sitchin, the clay tablets stated 3,600 years ago, this planet evolved into our solar system.
That the orbit was a 3,600-year orbit.
Our meditation says that 5,662 years for the orbital pattern.
And this 3,600-year orbit, actually, what our guides are saying is that it's coming from the observation of a smaller planet that is traveling the same course for at least a segment of that course.
Yeah.
And so that is the 3,600-year orbit belongs to another planet following a similar course, and that Nibiru, its orbit is actually 5,662
so it hasn't been visually
years.
Seen yet. As we know, many people in what they call Planet X, and in what NASA calls Planet X, because we don't know it's there supposedly, and because it hasn't been visually seen, even though some things have happened mathematically by other planets farther out in the
Kuiper
belt. So the reflection of the magnitudinal field on those planets.
They behave, what they observed with the microscopes is that these planets in the Kuiper belt behaved as if there was another gravitational field influencing their orbit, yet they could not identify what this other gravitational field was. So they named it Planet X because X is the unknown. Yeah. And so they also, there were a couple of guys who were working at Caltech who also used computer simulations to attempt to explain these unusual orbital behaviors.
Yeah. So Nibiru, according to what we understand, Nibiru is divided into life quadrants in many satellite planets, which follow.
Well, we don't know how many satellite planets, but evidently there are at least one.
Yeah, and according to our guys, there's the Anu, there's 4 inhabitants that we know of, and possibly 5. But the Anu, the Anunnaki, the Nephilim, and
the Nephilim that are mentioned in the Bible.
Yeah.
And so there was also mention in our communication of when we were asking about Thoth the Atlantean. That was another book that we were reading, And Thoth was some entity that existed here on Earth, an enlightened person thousands of years ago. And so we were asking about it, and the guide that we were talking to at the time really had no idea who this Thoth was. It wasn't somebody who was known in the universe, but they suggested that maybe Thoth was one of those purple beings.
Now, we don't know if purple beings was another planet of this grouping, or was one of the Nephilim.
One of the three that we, or the four that we were told that live in the Nibiru planetary system. So the purple beings could be the Anu or the Anunnaki or the Nephilim or the Nephilim. Now, in Zechariah Sitchens' book, The 12th Planet, which we really recommend you read, it's very interesting.
Gives you an insight of what could have happened.
Yeah, and you know, really it's a translation of records that were being recorded as time occurred.
Yeah, it has to do with the race of people from Nibiru, supposedly.
And their interactions with humans.
Yeah.
And so in his book, which our guides say is about 98% accurate, the translation says that Anu is a being, and he supposedly this being was kind of high up on the ranks, and he traveled between his abode in the sky and Earth, and was involved in a lot of the major decision making here on Earth. And he would come down for a short period of time. They would have discussions and make decisions, and then he would return via what sounded like a vehicle to his abode in the sky.
Which was a major vehicle outside of the ionosphere. And humans then didn't comprehend what was going on.
Right.
Humans didn't have the concepts or the ability to understand what was going on at the earth at this time.
Mm-hmm.
And they considered them gods and
right.
everything of this nature.
So Anu, in the 12th Planet by Zechariah Sitchens, his book, was described as this being. However, our guidance is saying that it was actually a whole culture of people called the Anu people. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't just one leader, but he represented a larger group of people. Yeah, and so also our guidance has talked about the people from the Nibiru planetary system as being octarians, and that they are from the 8th planet of the 2nd solar system outside of Earth. Right. And also Octarian in our teachings has also referred to the ability to see from all 8 sides. So those who have an expanded understanding and intellect and
we've
are
talked
conceptual.
about seeing things from 8 sides, 8 different levels of understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So
now the Nephilim, we're told that humans actually, our genetic material partially comes from the Nephilim culture, as well as many other cultures. So we're kind of a melting
our
pot.
Seeds are basically various cultures.
We're a melting pot of other cultures in the universe that, you know,
well, not the universe, within range of the solar system, which we don't know how many years away that takes. So the Anunnaki, the Anu people, the Anunnaki, I guess, with the Hopis and the ant people, they pulled in their waste to decrease their food supply, so they look like ants.
But
that's not ant people.
Not have been the Anu or the Anunnaki.
Yeah, well,
because they lived under the earth, under the surface of the earth.
They taught the Anu people.
Yeah, well,
them under the earth. So.
Yeah, if you break up Anu and Naki in the Hopi language, as far as what we were able to decipher with a dictionary was, it had something to do with ant people and friend of mine, I believe,
Yeah.
if memory serves me. Now, the Anunnaki actually are, what we're being told in our guidance, are themselves a created proletarian race. Now, proletarian is like used as a workforce, but really maybe like a slave race. Now, slavery, we were recently told, is not unique to Earth. This has occurred across the universal spectrum, and so the Anunnaki were probably a slave race at one time.
They use another culture to help them develop and to gain the materials that they need to develop. Well, we might have turned it around and use it in a negative term, the word slavery. But the word slavery should be you working for another.
Yeah, but also in more recent meditations, we've been taught that slavery has a more expanded meaning, and that's anything that's been forced upon another person.
Culture.
And so even, the mind manipulation and the control of information was described as a form of slavery. So if you want to, look at how much our consciousness and how much information has been manipulated in our world today, then we are all slaves to that.
Yeah, and as we consider that today,
right,
lack of information and transparency.
Right, and even your job, your former job as deputy fire marshal, and how you were writing fire code for the state, that they said was even a form of slavery, because you are imposing something, you're forcing something onto another.
Right, may not want it.
And so just a side note here from this lesson.
Discussion to create a humanoid race was discussed. This is in Sitchens' 12th.
No, actually, this is about our own guidance.
Yeah, and our guidance. But it was discussed and decided upon many races to make this planet an experiential planet.
And so they were here, going back thousands of years, they were here mining various minerals. In Zechariah Sitchens' book, he talks about gold and the mining of gold. Our guidance is saying it was more than just gold. They were here mining a lot of different things. And so it kind of sounds like the Anu people had created the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki were being used as this slave race, this proletarian force, this workforce, and they were doing the bulk of the work in the mines underground.
Yeah, we can in the continent of Africa now, and they found mines going thousands of feet straight down.
Real deep in Africa. Old mines.
Yeah.
So they were working many long hours every day, very hard labor, and according to Zechariah Sitchens' book, The 12th Planet, went to the Anu people and said, or Anu, in his book, it's Anu represented by a single person, but went to Anu and asked, can you please develop another proletarian race to help us with this workload? We're dying here, because they were so overworked, they were losing weight and very weak.
They tried several prototypes of humanitarian to see which one would best survive on this planet.
And that actually explains that, it used to be that our own anthropologists and scientists believe that prototypes of humanity they came in different stages, one after another, and there was an assumption that one evolved into the next. But more recently, they discovered that a lot of these were living on Earth at the same time. We're being told that there were several races of humanoids that were created in order to find one that would adapt to the Earth and survive and thrive on the Earth. And so that would more explain why there were different races here concurrently. And so now this experiment was two-pronged.
Yeah.
So it was one, they decided, and this was according to our guidance, they decided to create this proletarian race to help the Anunnaki with the mining.
Yeah.
But secondly,
that's why the short-term experiment didn't turn out to be very short-term.
so they had agreed, all these various outside cultures had agreed on this, okay, we will go along with this plan to develop this new species. It's going to be a short-term experiment. And what we're going to do is we're going to dumb down the genes. We're going to remove these protein markers that allow certain genes to be expressed and turned on. We're going to take those off and we're going to dumb them down to see how a species can survive at the least amount of gene expression. And this was an experiment to expand their own understanding through discussion and study of how a culture evolves from its most primal state under severe conditions.
Right, and this was a cooperative agreement by many entities outside of the solar system. And it went awry.
There was some sort of unspecified accident that happened that allowed humanity to continue.
So the Anunnaki were confirmed and enjoyed taunting humans and manipulating their thought patterns and information, etc.
Our guidance said that, but also Zechariah Sitchens' book said that too, so that the Anunnaki were not exactly the most moral,
advanced technology wise, but not morally wise.
But we've been told they have changed now. So not to worry about this race of people.
So humans right now are on the same path basically as the Anunnaki were then. We're messing with DNA. We're changing things. We're experimenting.
The way that we treat each other.
The way we treat each other. All this, we're going through the same.
The manipulation of information.
The same thing.
Keeping people in the dark. Yeah. So humanity is there. And so what we're being told now is that we are entering a new age of friendship that will evolve between these various cultures, and that they're going to share their philosophies with us. They're going to teach humans about cosmology and about the nature of all that is. Now, can you explain what is all that is?
Well, all that is everything that was, that were, and is now. It's all.
And it has to do with consciousness and the energy associated with consciousness. And so it's like the sum total, and it's a variable flow of conscious energy, but at a given moment in time.
What we told is everything that was, everything that is, and everything that will be.
Yes.
So many races have come here, in and out. Is where you've seen people saying, I've seen objects in the sky going way back hundreds of years, and they're checking on the human progress and what is happening and what should not be happening.
Right. And they're also making sure that the natural laws are being adhered to according to universal laws. So they make sure that we don't do things
we don't
create,
destroy the planet through our nuclear weapons. They'll shut everything down, which they have shown they can do. They'll shut it all down. We can play with our toys, but we can't ignite them to destroy this planet.
And they actually really encourage our advancing intellect and discovery, but not at the expense of the planet.
So Nibiru is re-entering our solar system approximately 5,662 of our years. So it is rotating. It hasn't been visibly seen yet, so we can't confirm it.
So what our guidance is being has told us is that Nibiru is a course corrector, and that it puts out an energy field, sounds like it has actually some sort of a tone or a sound that it puts out. Whether we can hear it or not, we don't know. But that energy field has an impact on surrounding planets, and it corrects their orbit. So that's why it's called a course corrector.
Yeah. And Nibiru has an effect on humanity. It helps us awaken our higher self.
Through the chaos.
Through chaos.
So it's going to create a lot of chaos when you talk about, that kind of a field having an impact, that it can actually change orbits to some degree. It must be measurable, but whether we can perceive it is a whole nother thing. But it does has some sort of an effect where it's creating chaos here on Earth, and that may be just in our own behaviors.
Yeah, and what we see, remember, we've talked about this before, there has to be chaos to create balance. The imbalance through chaos will eventually create balance.
It's what it's meant to do is to, through our desperacy that develops under these extreme conditions, we reach out to God for help. And
God being the creator. And
in that, we have that opportunity to recognize our higher self. Not everybody will be able to do this or will acknowledge it. Maybe some will have that interface happen, but then they don't want to acknowledge what it is, out of fear or whatever other reason.
Everybody has their own issues, their own reason why they don't want to accept truth. Okay. They don't want to look at themselves or whatever. So the development of cultures here on this, not just beyond Earth, even beyond our solar system, is all interlinked.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be helped when it gets to that point.
But there's certain learning that has to occur.
We have to learn.
With all of this turmoil that's going on. And I tell you what, we're not even in the thick of it yet, because we're going to have some major earth changes that are coming upon us. And you can see right now the earthquakes and the volcanic activity is starting to tick up.
Right. So it's going to affect humanity in the utmost way. But what brings humanity together is a major event worldwide. Not like the 9/11, that was short term as far as bringing those together. But a worldwide event will bring humanity together to take a look and say, hey, we are one race. No matter what color you call yourself or
belief system,
belief system, ideology, whatever, we are one race. And once we realize this and pull together as one race on this earth, then we will begin to understand, and the chaos and destruction will cease.
Yeah. And so it's real easy to talk about unity. Obviously, we're nowhere near it right now. But once we have this solidifying event, it's going to be a major event. We don't know what it is.
It'll be a world event.
It will be a world event. It's going to be big. Then we will come to understand unity and how important the unity is. It's not until we see the unity that we can start to interface with cultures outside of Earth, because if we can't even get along with each other, we certainly cannot get along with those outside of Earth. And the whole purpose of that is really, when we start interfacing with other cultures outside of Earth, they're going to be our teachers, and they're going to bring new technology, medical advances, understanding,
we have to begin to understand and leave all that destruction behind.
That's right. Yeah. And so what we're seeing play out today is going to, rebalance the Earth. And so you're going to see change in orbit, change in the axis. You're going to
Yeah, the
see
change in orbit may be
earthquakes.
minor, you know, but it's still a change.
Right. Earthquakes, volcanic activity. In fact, even recently, we were told you're going to see a lot more volcanic activity start on the west coast of what we believe that is the United States. So including Yellowstone, however, that you did not see that super volcanic eruption.
No, I
with
saw several
Yellowstone.
small ones. But the thing is, it's happening around the world, from the south to the north. And that's what we have to understand. The Earth is beginning to change. We have to understand and change with this. Now, the Earth will change. We cannot stop it, but we can understand it.
And, you know, the way that we look at these predictions is that it's not to go into fear mode, but to take that information and say, okay, I know what's coming. This is how I'm going to prepare and move with that flow of energy.
That's correct.
And so when you're prepared, it takes away the fear factor and you understand it. You're not going into the fear mode because of it. And so we want to encourage everybody to buy your seeds, get stocked up on food, and have a clean source of water.
Which we've been saying for years.
Yes.
And to understand more about this, we wrote this in our books, the two of them, and we're working on the third right now. But the acquiescence of humanity, it has all this information basically in there.
Yes. So
Augmentation of Man series.
The Nibiru is discussed in here, and much of what we talked about today and more is in the acquiescence of humanity. It's available, or both of them are available on Amazon. So
thanks for being with us today.
Yes, and peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Thank you. Bye-bye.